It's all driven by the fact that chemistry does need to be more efficient, and something I'm sure many of you have seen, which is a table that was generated by a good friend of mine, a man called Roger Sheldon, some of you may know. And 23 years ago, Roger was just in the transition from Shell to University of Delft, where he's still based, and he came up with this interesting analysis of efficiency of different sectors. And what he showed was that as basically as the complexity of the synthesis and the value of the molecules went up, the efficiency of the processing went down. But the real reason for doing this was to make people appreciate the fact, as I've said at the bottom, that actually most chemical reactions make more waste than product. They're not very efficient. And that has become, I don't think those numbers have been particularly challenged by people. I think it's helped people to understand why we're doing what we're doing. We are not very efficient. So fundamentally, whatever you understand about, what the issues are in terms of how expensive waste is and so on, it's sort of intuitively you think, yeah, we should be doing better than that. But in fact, when you do start looking at it a bit more, you begin to see just waste. Of course, that means we're therefore making a lot of waste, and waste is very expensive. And this is something I did 15 years ago, and it hasn't really changed because, the issues are still there. They're even worse than they were, and they get worse all the time because if you've got waste, it's going to cost you, obviously, in terms of lost production, obviously in terms of waste disposal, obviously in terms of environmental issues, and in terms of PR and so on. And wherever there's a box there, a green box, it's got worse. So, the cost of waste disposal goes up and up all the time. The costs, all sorts of issues become critical. And this has, and as I said, this was the original driver, the motivation for the chemical industry to take the whole movement seriously in the 1990s and still today, because waste is so expensive. So that kind of helps from an economic point of view to justify why we're moving in that direction.